September 11, 2016 marks the 15th anniversary of the deadliest foreign attack ever on U.S. soil after 19 militants associated with the Islamic terrorist group Al-Qaeda hijacked 4 U.S. commercial airplanes and carried out suicide attacks against the United States.
You don't have an elevator yet? Any elevators working?
Flames are shooting out. Smoke is pouring out.
I want you to get it.
If you're just joining us this morning, you're in for a horrific surprise. Rescue crews are making their way to the scene, and all of this unfolding in one of the busiest places in the world, in downtown Manhattan.
The world will always remember the horrific images of the 2 planes that were crashed into each tower of the World Trade Center in Manhattan, and Americans will never forget and will always commemorate that tragic day that caused a total of 2,996 deaths, left more than 6,000 people injured, and affected thousands of others with what is known 9/11 related diseases, including cancer. From the wider population, as many as 400,000 people are estimated to be affected by these diseases, and this figure includes those who lived and worked within a mile and a half of Ground Zero in Manhattan and Brooklyn, the vast majority of whom, according to reports, still don't know they are at risk. During the course of time, many of those affected of 9/11 related cancers have passed away.
The worst tragedy in New York City history. On that day, September 11th of 2001, we lost 2,996 people at the World Trade Center. Fathers, mothers, husbands, wives, sons and daughters. It was the darkest day we ever saw. We saw the worst of humanity that day, the worst of evil. But we also saw the best of humanity. We saw those that gave of themselves, those that didn't know the people that they were helping, but wanted to make sure that their neighbor, the person standing next to them, came home safely at the detriment to their own safety.
On September 9th, on the 15th anniversary of 9/11, Council Member Costa Constantinides honored the late Lieutenant Theodore Leoutsakos, a New York State Court Officer and a lifelong Astoria resident, by co-naming 29th Street between 21st Avenue and Ditmars Blvd after him during a special ceremony attended by members of the New York State Court Officers, city officials, the Leoutsakos family, and a large crowd. Leoutsakos lived on this block with his family for 47 years. The late Lieutenant Leoutsakos was among the many who heroically assisted with the rescue efforts on September 11, 2001. As he was trying to save others, the South Tower collapsed and he was stuck under the rubble. And although he survived that ordeal, he endured lasting health effects, and as a result, he passed away in 2015. The cause of his death was September 11th related cancer. The event began with the presentation of colors under the sounds of bagpipes by the New York Court Officers Ceremonial Unit, Pledge of Allegiance, and the national anthem. Addressing the crowd, Council Member Constantinides expressed his pride for co-naming this street Lieutenant Theodore Leoutsakos Way, which, as he stressed, commemorates the contributions and assistance of the late Theodore Leoutsakos to the 9/11 rescue efforts at the World Trade Center. It should be noted that the City Council unanimously passed Bill 1227 on July 14, 2016, which co-named this street as well as other streets throughout the city and was signed into law on August 3rd. There were remarks about the life and contributions of the late Theodore Leoutsakos by his cousin Frank Miterotonda, his close friend Joseph Baccellieri Jr., chief of the New York State Court Officers Academy, while special words of praise were also conveyed by State Senator Michael Gianaris and Assembly Member Arabella Simotas. As the unveiling of the street sign was about to begin, the string broke loose, but this did not stop a family friend from climbing on the shoulders of Mr. Miterotonda to manually unveil the sign, earning him a very enthusiastic applause from all in attendance. Today we're remembering a hero right here from Astoria. How does it feel?
It's beyond words, really. It's beyond words. Knowing Teddy and knowing what he did, being a relative, being a cousin, being in law enforcement like he was, it's beyond real. He was excellent. He did a great job, and it's a great tribute for him.
It's funny that you, during your speech, you mentioned how humble he was and the fact that he would be laughing because we are honoring him today, and then the sign would not come off. The cover of the sign would not come off.
I think he had something to do with that, knowing his humor, but it was beautiful. I'm at a loss of words, to be honest with you. Seeing him go through his illness and being there with him, it was tough. But he's still here, and he'll never leave. You know, all the memories we have, all the memories I have of him. Every time I come into the city, I think of things that we did in the city, and it was great.
Thank you so much, and may you always be well to remember him.
All right, thank you very much.
Senator Gianaris, here we are again in the heart of Astoria on a very, very hot day to honor the late Lieutenant Theodore Leoutsakos. How does it feel?
Well, it's sad anytime we have to do this, and what makes me especially sad is we're not just honoring someone who died on 9/11, which we've done many times in this neighborhood. We're honoring someone who died as a result of 9/11, which means there are still people 15 years later who are getting sick and dying because of the work they did to clean up New York, to search for the remains of those who died. And unfortunately, Teddy was one of those people. But we're proud to honor his lifetime of service in the military, at Ground Zero, in the court system. He's done so much, and always from this neighborhood, always from the heart of Astoria. So we're happy to be here for that reason and to honor his family.
Now, we've talked about this in the past as far as the illnesses that people have succumbed after the 9/11 attacks as rescue workers, etc. And what is the state doing to support these people?
Well, we've done a good job. Not enough, I would say. We always need to do more, but we've done a good job of trying to make sure that there's health care available for people who have developed illnesses as a result. It was like pulling teeth to get the Congress to recognize the illnesses as related to 9/11 so that the resources would open up. But with the work of Carolyn Maloney and Joe Crowley and other members of Congress, we were able to get that done. So now it's more recognized. Still not as much as it should be. There's still people suffering. There's still people who will be dying in the future because of what happened to them and because they rushed in to help. But we're trying to do what we can to make sure that at least they have the health care available to them when they get sick.
Well, today we're remembering that tragic day, 9/11, 2001. What is the message you would like to send out, and are we safe?
Well, the message is that we're still recovering emotionally, as you can see from how many people turned out here today. It is not something that's over either for our healing or in terms of what's going on internationally. We're still dealing with the consequences of the conflict. And there's certainly mistakes that we've made, there's mistakes that others have made, but we should strive to make it better to put this behind us and work towards unity among the nations of the world. And we're far away from that, unfortunately.
Are we safe here in New York City?
We're as safe as we can be. For a city that's as big and as much of a target as New York is, we're as safe as we could be, and the New York Police Department does a terrific job. We like to say we're the safest big city in America, and I think that's true.
Thank you, Senator.
All right, thank you, Anna.
Chief, you gave a very emotional speech today, but also an in-depth look of who Teddy was.
I worked for Teddy, or with Teddy, for many, many years, and I knew him very, very well. He was the most decent person I ever met. Good man, very, very humble, but cared about people and had a lot of compassion. So what I spoke about was from the heart. It was easy.
Now, this illnesses that people are facing following 9/11, and I'm sure many of your fellow officers are also, others are facing it. How do you cope with this?
Well, it's difficult to cope with. I personally have contracted a cancer that they associate with my exposure on 9/11. It's like any other difficult thing that you deal with in life. It happens. You accept the fact that it happened, and you do your best you can, to deal with it. You have the support of your family, your friends. We're fortunate that our elected officials in the court system, our hierarchy is very, very supportive of us, and you take one day at a time.
Now, during this tragic anniversary, 15th tragic anniversary of 9/11, what is the message you would like to send out? And as I asked Senator Gianaris earlier, are we safe?
Well, I don't know if we'll ever be completely safe, but people should rest assured that there are men and women willing to do whatever it takes to protect them each and every day, including at great personal sacrifice to sometimes their families and to their own personal safety. And that's the proud tradition of America. We're survivors, and we're going to survive no matter what.
Well, thank you so much, Chief, and thank you for your service.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Council Member Constantinides, sad day today, but at the same time, a day of pride.
In 2 days we're going to commemorate 9/11. It's just one of the saddest days in the history of New York City. We saw the worst of humanity that day, but we also saw the best of humanity. We saw those become heroes, to give of themselves with no concern for their own safety, to give of themselves to make sure someone else can go home to their loved ones. And today we commemorate a man like that in Theodore Leoutsakos, who, a lifetime of service. He was a Vietnam veteran. He served our country there in Vietnam. He was injured in combat and honorably discharged. He was a court officer serving the state for 24 years. And on 9/11, he went from court officer to first responder. And he was trapped in the South Tower, but he led others out of that harrowing experience and still went back and worked at the pile to make sure that those that were lost came home to their families in one way or another, and helped identify the remains. And that was an unenviable task, but he gave consistently of himself until he became sick. And that's we commemorate his memory. We commemorate what it means to be a true hero today by commemorating him.
Now, you worked very hard to pass the bill for the co-naming of this street and other streets in New York City, and the New York City Council passed it overwhelmingly, right?
I mean, this was unanimous.
No-brainer, right?
No brainer at all. I mean, this was a man who gave back to his community, gave back to our city, back to our country. We need to commemorate men and women like that, and this was an easy one for us to recognize that this is why we do these street renamings.
Now, I'll ask you the same question I asked Senator Gianaris earlier. What is the City Council doing to support the families and, most importantly, those first responders who are still suffering the after effects of 9/11?
We stand with our men and women in uniform. We stand with our men and women that gave of themselves and got themselves ill on that day. We have consistently supported the Zagroga bill in Congress and worked with Congressman Crowley and Karen Maloney, who've been huge champions to make sure that our first responders, even those that worked afterwards and have become ill, get the treatment that they need. And we as a council will continue to support those efforts and efforts of our own to make sure that if there's a need, that we will fill it.
Anything else you would like to share with our audience as far as bills that you're working right now?
I definitely look forward to coming back and speak with you more. I mean, there's plenty that we're doing, but today, I know this will be airing on 9/11. Today is a day for remembrance. Today is a day we can't ever forget. It's been 15 years. It feels like yesterday some days and long ago others, but we have to remember. We have to make sure we teach our children about heroes like this, heroes like Lieutenant Leoutsakos, make sure that they understand what happened on 9/11 and those definitions of heroism and self-sacrifice, and never ever forget. And that's what I'm going to leave you with today, is celebrating his memory, celebrating the memory of all those lives that we've lost. And I want to thank you, Elena, for being here today and continually being a voice in the Greek American community. You do such a great job, and one of the hardest working people I've ever met. So thank you.
Thank you.
Teddy would love that bag.
So you are?
Cynthia. Stephanie.
Stacy.
So how do you feel today?
Extremely honored to have my father's name on our block that he's lived on all his life.
How about you?
I'm extremely excited. I think it's such an honor. We can't be any more blessed to have had him in our life. I'm so glad that his legacy will live on and his grandchildren will be able to know the story of what he's done.
Now, from all the wonderful memories you have of your dad, tell me one great one.
Oh God, there's so many. Just him being a true hero for us, always taking care of us, putting us first, always, anything that he can do for us, he always did.
Every summer we would go fishing with him,
Yes.
and it was just something that we grew up doing. Because of him, it was something he loved, and it's something we still love to do. So those memories of our summers together. I love that he was a big, hulking, scary man, covered in tattoos, and when people met him, they were really surprised. So you should never judge a book by its cover.
How did you feel when the cover of the sign did not come off?
That was very typical. My father broke everything, so this was very fitting that it broke.
Yeah, we know he was here with us today.
Thank you so much, and I wish you the very best to be always well to remember him.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.